favorite covert agents.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the It's Time to Uncovert podcast with Covert Beauty. This is your favorite covert agent, Agent 0615, and today I am here with Reason 17. Reason 17 is here to talk about our awareness to National Suicide Prevention Month. If y'all haven't got the chance to watch our last video, here at Covert Beauty, we heard a lot of y'all's wants and needs and desires and what y'all wanted to see us do because y'all love our mission so much. And we have decided to take on some of the stories of our own supporters and share 3 of those stories for the month of September that coincide with different things that are going on this month. So this podcast in particular is for National Suicide Prevention Month, in which Reason 17 is one of our supporters that we love so dearly. And she has agreed to come onto the podcast and share her story and how it relates to this topic. Now, remember, here at Covert Beauty, everyone's identity is kept confidential. And so that's why I'm Covert Agent 0615, and our beautiful guest here is Reason 17. Because a lot of these stories are sensitive topics and people may, want to keep their stories, still want to share them, but still want to keep their identity close. That's why we offered that on our platform here at It's Time to Uncovert, in allowing our guests to come up with their own alias, but still share their story, because they are amazing, strong, beautiful, inspiring stories that need to be heard, need to be told. That way, the more of us out here that we're dealing with stuff out here in life, because we all know life isn't easy, so we all know that we're not in it alone, because here at Covert Beauty, we love you so much and just want you to be greater than what you are now, because you're already great. That's why we got to add the ER at the end. Okay? So, Reason 17, I want to thank you so much for coming onto our podcast today and even being willing to share your story with us on this platform.
Yes.
So, we're going to get into it. Before we get into your story, I just want everyone to know that because this is an episode that is dealing with the topic of suicide, if you or someone you know or love is currently dealing with suicide ideations or may need help, I do want to provide the Suicide Hotline phone number. It is 1-800-273-TALK, which is 1-800-273-8255. In addition to that, there's also the National Hope Line Network. That phone number is 1-800-SUICIDE, which is 1-800-784-2433. So again, Reason 17. I'm so excited to be able to talk to you about your story and to get some more of our listeners in on what you have been able to overcome in your life.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Of course, we love you so much. You ready to get started?
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing I want to ask you is, what's the perception that you have that those around you have of you? Like, what do you think people think whenever they see you?
So, I get a lot that people don't believe my age when I tell them. Like,
okay.
They definitely think I'm much older. The way I present myself, the way I talk, the way I move. One time, my dad actually told me, I was just walking around the house, minding my business, and he's like, "You're walking around here like you're a manager or something." And I really, I took that as a compliment, honestly, because I feel like the qualities of a manager is like leadership and, stuff like that. So, and I like that. I like being viewed like that. And it was just the way I was walking, and how I hold my head high. And I didn't have to talk or anything. And at work as well, they tell me similar things, and just today, this girl, she told me, I was just working in class, and she's like, oh my gosh, like, you know how to do everything. Like, you're so good at everything. I'm like, what do you mean? And she says, like, you know how to draw, you know how to do your work, you answer all the questions, like, you're first to volunteer, and things like that. So, yeah, I think I like how I'm viewed, honestly. I like above average.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So people already see in you that you're basically like a natural leader. You're older, I guess, mentally. You're more mature than what people would expect just looking at you and knowing what your age is.
Yeah,
Is that
definitely.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that definitely is awesome. You know what? I've never heard anyone say like they've been told they walk like they're a manager, especially like by their parent. Like that's a really cool, unique compliment. But I'm really excited that you kind of took it and you're like, okay, like thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Like you took it on and you realize like, okay, it's not that you're being bossy. It's that them knowing who you are, they see you in that light already.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really awesome. I wish I had that kind of respect when I was your age with my parents, So in knowing that people view you this way, you're more mature for your age, you know how to handle your business, was it difficult for you to talk about your situation that we're covering today before you were able to overcome it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's even kind of hard to think back because when I was in that phase, in that stage, I was kind of like blocked. Like, everything's like kind of blocked off.
Okay.
So it's hard to think back before I overcame, but I definitely didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know what to say. Like, if I did want to talk, like, hey, I'm suicidal. Like, I don't know. And so yeah, it was hard. I didn't know who to go to. Okay. I didn't know when was the right time and stuff like that.
Okay. And so you mentioned in the first question that you're already young now, and so you were even younger dealing with these suicidal thoughts and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what made it even harder to speak because I was really young. I was 11, 12 years old, and I thought I was crazy, like, for having those type of thoughts, like, just run through me. I didn't understand. Like, I wasn't sure if it was okay to be thinking like that. I thought maybe I'm just exaggerating, but I kept, it, like, kept happening. Like, I just definitely did not want to be here, and for years, like, after that.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, this is not okay. Like, there's definitely something much more deeper than just a phase, as what some people in my life were telling me. Like, it's just a phase. Some people would use themselves as an excuse. For example, oh, I went through the same thing and I'm okay. Just trying to cancel out, like, your story, trying to make it not valid, which I think is really toxic. It's dangerous for some people, I think, because what could have happened was for them telling me that, I could have felt even worse and been like, I don't know, I could have done worse things to myself.
Okay.
Just for people not understanding.
Wow. You really are strong. You need to give yourself some more credit. You're stronger than I think you're carrying yourself to believe. Okay? I mean, you were that young, dealing with those kinds of thoughts going in your head, trying to figure out, why am I thinking this? I shouldn't be thinking this. It's like you're so young, you're already trying to figure out who you are. And is this real? No, I shouldn't be doing this. And then having the impact of other people coming and telling you it's just a phase, or I dealt with it too. So it was like taking away from what you were really truly experiencing.
Yeah. And I would research, like, I was doing research, like, what is this? Like, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way?
Okay.
What happens to people that are suicidal?
Yeah. Okay. Man. You're amazing me right now. You are just awesome, and I'm just so honored to be sitting here with you, just talking about, getting to hear and tell your story about how you overcame this, and you're already just so young. So please, again, and I know I'm repeating myself, but you, like, you're the boss, like, you awesome, okay? So in going through that, and I know you were so young dealing with it, how did it impact you overall? Like physically, mentally, if at all, spiritually, if it affected you that way as well?
Well, on the bright side, it did make me the strong person that I am today. Like, I do take pride in going through what I went through, because I feel as though if I didn't go through it, I would not be, like, as strong as I am today, as mature, as knowledgeable. I'd be, like, much more naive and maybe even ignorant, like, towards the situation. That maybe, like, if my friends were going through it, and I had no idea, then I'd be, like, ignorant about it. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess, what were some of the challenges that you were facing while you were going through it? Like, you talked a little bit about, I guess, like, mentally thinking in your head, like, you shouldn't be having these thoughts.
Yeah, it was
right?
like mentally draining. Thinking like that there was something wrong with me for thinking that way. And then not having the answers, because I did want professional help. And I wanted the confirmation, like, okay, you have depression, this is why you're feeling like this is where all the suicidal thoughts are coming from, and the self-harm, and yeah, so it's, like, so draining, and it just adds on to the burden, I guess. And I want to touch on self-harm also. When I would self-harm, it was to, like, attempt to commit suicide. Yeah. Sometimes at first it was just to feel something, that, okay, like, you're actually real, you're a real human, I needed that reminder. But then I wanted more. And some people, like, do self-harm bad enough to, like, kill themselves, because it is possible. Yeah. You touch the wrong vein and it's over. Yeah.
One little thing could make a big difference. Okay. So far we've talked about, people view you today as this strong, this very mature young person. Your dad tells you that you walk like a manager. So I think that just shows how much of a leader you are, and just how well you're able to manage different situations at a given time. And, you talked to us a little bit about how at such a young age of 11, 12 years old, you were dealing with these suicidal thoughts, and people around you telling you, oh, I went through that too. It's like kind of taking away from your own personal experience with that, and how that affects you mentally, and that led into, I guess, like, the self-harm you were just talking about, so, like, physically as well. And so I really am interested, and I bet a lot of our listeners are interested too, what was your healing process coming out of that? How did you do it?
The number one thing is definitely the birth of my niece. My very first niece. It was, I think, she was born back in, like, 2013, something like that. But it completely, like, changed my world around. She, just being my first niece, like, I was so happy to be an aunt. I would always hear my friends talking about, like, oh, like, yeah, I'm an aunt, I have a niece, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I wonder what that'd be like. But yeah, so when I found out my sister was pregnant, I started thinking about, I would not want my niece to
Mm-hmm.
grow up and see me in pictures,
Yeah.
and then have to ask about, like, where is she?
Yeah. Okay. And that's beautiful in itself, because in just in dealing and having those suicide thoughts at, again, a very young age, you were able to see your beautiful little baby niece and give your love and give I guess not so much power in her, but just that the birth of your first niece, right? And it was like she kind of gave you a reason to live in a way.
Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah. She's my she's my reason to live. And now I have, like, multiple reasons to live.
Oh.
Yeah, I have 4 nieces, 1 nephew.
Okay.
Yeah, and I love them so dearly, and I think about them all the time.
Yeah.
And when it was just my first niece,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going through those thoughts, I
Mhm.
just always had to think about her. Even as simple as, like, self-harm. Like, even if
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to kill myself, I just didn't. I really wanted to escape from all of that.
Yeah.
So thinking about her really just stopped me. And just, I want to be there for her. I want to
Yeah.
see her go to her prom and
Yeah.
graduate and get married.
Yeah. So you're a busy auntie now. All these nieces and that one cute little nephew.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome, because it's like you, in a sense, like you gained life through your niece.
Yeah.
You know, you were in this space where you wanted to hurt yourself, you don't want to be here anymore, and here your sister is pregnant, about to have your niece, and you're like, no, I want to be here when she gets married, and when she has her first boyfriend, and when she, her prom and graduate, like, all these things you just listed. And so it's just, that's awesome that was able to heal you,
Yeah.
and help you overcome, you wanting to self-harm and you wanting to no longer be here. I think that's really beautiful.
Yep. And she, her being born is starting a new life. So she couldn't judge me, like the way others that already knew me could. She didn't, like, she doesn't know anything. She doesn't know any better. She is able to just love me for me. She has nothing to, like, go based off of.
Yeah.
So it's just, like, pure, like, yeah, it's just pure.
That pure, real love.
Yeah.
From your little niece. That's awesome. And I bet she's cute, too.
Yeah.
Okay, so your healing process, mostly a lot of it came from your beautiful little niece. So talking about, how this birth of your niece just switched everything for you in, I imagine, a short period of time.
Yeah.
So you today, having her and your other nieces and your nephew, what advice would you give to the you that was going, that 11, 12-year-old that was having these suicidal thoughts, that was going through the self-harm, that was having those feelings and thoughts like, I don't want to be here anymore?
I would have definitely found a reason to live before. Like, I hate that. Well, I don't hate, but it sucks that I had to wait until my niece came along to, like, find a reason to live. And this is also, like, that's also the point of all of this. I think that people out there should start there. Start finding little things, little reasons to live and to be here, and a purpose. My purpose was just to serve my niece, like, be there for her. Like I said, I could not imagine, like, her finding.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You love her. And I can only imagine how crazy in love with you she is. Okay? And you are so young now, and you are already this strong, amazing woman. you're not a little girl, okay, no matter what your age and a number is, you know, and I mean, you're here telling your story. So that just shows how strong you are.
Yeah, I just couldn't imagine her finding out like what happened to me.
Yeah. And it's beautiful though that she doesn't ever have to, because you're here. You're here, and she's not gonna have those questions like, what happened? Where is she? What is she like? Like, you get to be here and have those fun memories with her. You know, you get to have those sneaky moments where her mom tells her no, and you go in the back and you tell her yes and sneak her some candy or something. You know.
Yeah.
You know, you were able to get out of that space. You know, and suicide is something that a lot of people, if not everyone, knows someone who has dealt with it, thought about it, or, you know, never made it out, you know. And so it is a very beautiful thing that you are here today and that you are able to tell your story today, okay?
Yeah.
And that your niece gets to have all these memories with you.
Yeah.
Okay, and she doesn't even know the impact that her birth had on you. All right, and so that piece of advice, I mean, you found it. You know, you found your reason, and your reason probably drives you crazy sometimes. I bet, you know, but like you said, like, she just loves you for you. She wasn't born to judge you or had all these premeditated thoughts on who you were or what you were. She just sees you and she already loves you.
Yeah, exactly. And also a part of my healing process was I had to learn, like, to talk, to communicate, to not hold my feelings in. So that also was, like, a huge impact on me.
Okay.
I need, like, people to know how therapeutic it is to talk. And if it's not to your family, I mean, to a therapist or a psychologist, you know, those are professionals that will have to keep everything confidential.
Yes.
And so I was seeing a psychologist and talking to her, just getting things off my chest. I mean, family at home saw the difference in me. They noticed how much, like, stress-free I was.
Yes.
I didn't look like I always had something to say or get off my chest.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
And then also my sisters, I liked talking to my sisters, because they also, like, went through something similar. So, like, they understood somewhat and they had their advice. And even if they didn't know what to say back, I mean, just talking, just letting it out to them helps a lot. And I regret not asking for help as young as 11 or 12 because I thought I was going to be judged. Or my parents were going to yell at me. So, I mean, I advise everyone else to please, like, just get help. Like, there's nothing wrong, like, with asking to see a therapist or psychologist. And people think, like, oh, you see a psychologist, you must be crazy. Like, something's wrong with you. No, like, people go for all types of reasons. Whenever, like, I start something new in my life, when, like, my routine changes, as simple as starting, like, my senior year of high school, I get really anxious because there's a lot that comes with, like, you know, graduating high school and change. So that's a reason, like, to go talk to somebody.
So for you, communicating when you're having, like, anxious thoughts, or when you're seeing, okay, like, my schedule's about to change. Like, I was on summer break for so long, now I gotta go back to school, be on a new, whole different schedule.
Having to adjust.
Yes. And so communicating those types of concerns that you have is really helpful. Okay, that's awesome.
And it's a real thing. It's called psychotherapy. Like, that, like, just talking and
Mm-hmm.
creating a relationship with whoever you may be talking to.
Mhm.
I created a relationship with my psychologist,
Mm-hmm.
so it just made me really comfortable talking to her.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm really glad that you were able to, to find what works for you,
Mhm.
in building in that communication. And I think, I can only assume that communication helps you to be this mature person everyone sees you to be. That they see you as someone who's really older mentally than what they see physically. And I bet a lot of that does go into with you understanding what works for you in your healing process and what you went through.
Yeah.
Okay. So your story, Reason 17, is one that is very inspiring. Okay, you're so young and you have overcome a lot in your short life.
Yeah.
Okay. And I can see how people look at you and they just see like this boss lady who walks around like she knows what she's doing, knows how to, answer her questions, do her work, and doesn't really have a lot of issues. Like you do present yourself in this manner that like you would never expect, that you
Exactly.
went through
Yeah.
what you just talked about.
Yeah, and I've got that also, like, and that makes it scary, like, to talk about to people face to face,
Yeah.
because it's scary, like, what if they don't believe me?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I've gotten before, like, they were like, I would have never thought, like,
Yeah.
I would have never thought you walk around here, like, always laughing, smiling, like, yeah. I think back then, I definitely did let it get the best of me, so it was more apparent, like, the way I dress, or I'd walk around, like, with my head low. I was really antisocial.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like, I like not being like that, because I kind of, like, learned that it's not very attractive, and I want to be attractive, and I just like, if I had friends that were always really, that looked sad, looked really down, like, that could be draining on me too, like, being so negative. So, and I don't want to be that friend.
Yeah.
I want to be that positive, like, always happy.
Yeah.
I was the friend that people would come to for advice. Little did they know, like, I had to take my own advice. I was going through, stuff at home, and all the advice I'm giving you is because I need it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like you were talking to yourself while they were talking to your friends. Wow, that's really great.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, your story definitely inspired me, and I can only imagine who else is going to be inspired and just blown away by your story, because again, suicide is something that a lot of people are too familiar with, whether they personally have gone through it, or they have lost someone to suicide, or they know someone who's currently dealing with it. And so I really am happy and honored, and just super excited that you were able to overcome it, and that is something to be really proud of, and that, you are just like this whole new person than you were when you were 11, 12 years old. And I can only imagine the things that you're going to do going forward, because you carry yourself like this awesome, amazing person, and you're only going to get better with time.
Yep.
Okay. So is there anything else that you want to talk about with your story, or is that really just the gist of it?
There was something, I forgot.
Did you find any particular person in your life that surprised you in being supportive during your healing process?
Oh, my dad.
Your dad?
Yeah,
Really?
definitely my dad, yeah.
Okay.
Because he's, like, the top, we view him as, like, the top dog. Like,
Yeah.
he plays no games. He's very traditional, very old school. And then back then, like, people would look at you crazy, like, if you're suicidal. Like,
Yeah.
like, what are you thinking? Depression, it wasn't real. Like, they didn't believe in it. So it was, like, really hard. He didn't know what I was going through for a long time.
Okay.
I kept it a secret. Some of my family members kept it from him. And then it took a situation, a certain incident between my dad and I to get a psychologist. And then while we were already there, I took advantage of it, and I went to her and I was like, I want to get tested.
Okay.
I want to get tested. I need confirmation on what exactly do I have. And basically, she did diagnose me with severe anxiety and chronic depression.
Okay.
And instead of being scared, I was really relieved finally having that confirmation. And she did offer medications, which I turned down. I refused to take medications.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you and your dad, so y'all were going to see this psychologist together. Wow.
Yeah, together, yeah, too.
Okay, you don't hear that a lot.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And when he found out what I was diagnosed with and my whole suicidal story, he did start crying, and he told me, like, you should have told me. You should have been told me this. I would have got you the help you needed. Yeah, so I was really happy when he told me that.
Yeah. Okay. That is a big surprise. That's like, okay, like, I don't think a lot of people really expect one to be going to, you know, counseling sessions with their parents at all. Especially, like, because the stigma, you know, it's like, you know, you don't want to feel that judgment from your parents. And then just to see how supportive he was, and just, like, the smile on your face as you're talking about how supportive your dad was, I could only imagine what that was doing for you while it was actually happening.
Yes, and then on top of that, he reached out to my sisters and would send them messages or emails trying to help them understand what I have and what I was going through, so they could be a little bit more, like, considerate towards me for if I was acting a certain way one day, or to just justify how I was acting back then, like my behavior in the past. Here's why. Like, this is what she was going through. Yeah, so he also did that for me, trying to make people understand.
Yeah.
He would send them, I think he even sent them, like, my results, like, and descriptions, like, what exactly does that mean? What exactly is chronic depression? What exactly is severe anxiety? What comes with it? The symptoms and such.
Okay. Sounds like Dad was your MVP.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I am really happy that you had that support.
Yeah.
That's really a huge blessing, and that's something that I can only imagine how many people would wish that they could have right now too. And so I think with you giving the advice of, you know, talking to someone, telling someone, I think that may be helpful, because I don't think a lot of people really understand how much just communicating one simple sentence, like, hey, I'm going through this, can really have on their life. And what I'm seeing from you is that communication was very vital, and it was really important. And without it, you know, you probably wouldn't have gone to your healing process, or, you know, been complete with it just yet.
Yep. And it's 2019. I mean, it's time for people to start speaking up. It's not the old days anymore. No. Like, everything. I think that mental health and suicide alone is becoming more, what's the word, like,
more prevalent?
Yeah. People are starting to talk about it more. I think in school, there's some schools that, like, have classes based on mental health, or at least they touch on mental health. And I think that's important for other students to realize, like, okay, this is real.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, reason 17, I am so happy that you were even willing to, one, share your story when you reached out to us the first time, and even wanting to come here in person and talk about your story with our listeners. At the It's Time to Uncovert podcast, your story is one that just shows and demonstrates so much love and so much strength and so much perseverance and resiliency. Again, like I'm so excited to see what life has for you going forward, because for you to be so young, I never would have thought you overcame this. And then it's just like you had all this stuff going on and you're still so young, and it's like, okay, manager lady, like you're going to be CEO walking around later on, like you're going to be like your own boss. And so I love the spirit that I see in you. I just love the energy that you're giving off, and just how confident I'm seeing and how you're talking about your healing process and what works. And you know, and I had no idea that mental health was being touched on a little bit more in schools, and I think that is really important.
Yeah.
You know? So here at the It's Time to Uncovert podcast, we just talked about suicide with Reason 17. And this podcast was for our awareness for National Suicide Prevention Month, which is going on in the month of September. And so anyone that is listening is currently going through suicidal ideations, or knows someone who's contemplating it, or is dealing with it, or, you know, is trying to look for a way out and doesn't know where to go, there is a suicide hotline. That phone number is 1-800-273-TALK, which is 1-800-273-8255. There's also the National Hotline Network. That is 1-800-SUICIDE, which is 1-800-784-2433. In addition to those two phone numbers, here at Covert Beauty, we have partnered with an amazing organization called Aunt Bertha. If you go to our website, www.covertbeauties.com, go to our Contact Us tab, scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see the Aunt Bertha search engine, and just type in your zip code, and you can see what services are available in your area for a low or reduced cost. You know, whether you're looking for counseling or any other kind of help that'll help you or your loved one, use that. Covert Beauty, we're not just here to sell you lashes and mirrors. We're here because we love you. We're a brand for the people, and so we know our people are dealing and going through current life situations. And so Aunt Bertha is someone that we were really excited to partner with, to give you all those services, to give you all that extra help, because you're beautiful and we love you. And if you haven't heard it, I'm going to say it again. I love you. So in addition to this amazing story by Reason 17, we have two other stories coming out in the month of September at It's Time to Uncovert. Again, we are sharing these stories, not that because they're related to a lash in particular, but because we heard our consumers and y'all want more content on the podcast, which, hey, I'm okay with doing. I like talking, so that's what I'm here to do. So besides this episode, we will have two more this month, one talking about national self-improvement, where we're going to have someone talking about how they were going through and they were living as homeless for 8 years, and how that person was able to overcome that adversity, and they're going to tell you where they are now in their life. And I'm telling y'all, like, this story is amazing. I'm going to try my hardest not to cry because it's so beautiful, but it's really something that needs to be told and that needs to be heard. And then we'll have another episode that talks about National Sexual Health Month, where we're talking about the mental preparation for being in a sexual relationship, not just talking about condoms, different contraceptives, birth control and stuff like that, but really the preparation and how you really ready yourself to be at that next level. And so I cannot wait for y'all to hear those stories. And one of our guests in those two episodes is actually a dude. It's a guy. It's a male. He's a boy. Here at Covert Beauty, we do have a lot of male support, and so we're really excited to share one of our male supporters' stories with with one of these episodes. I'm not going to tell you which one it is, so you have to stay tuned and listen to see which story is his. So we will be releasing all of that information coming up on those 2 episodes on our Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you're following us on Facebook at our Covert Beauty page, and on Instagram at Covert Beauties. And while you're looking for information, why not buy a pair of lashes, or 2 or 3 or 10, or a mirror? Maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's for your neighbor because you love them. Maybe it's because, maybe you messed up and you need to buy someone a gift. Hey, we got nice lashes. Our website is www.covertbeauties.com. Take a look at those products. They're amazing. They're awesome. They're fun to use. The mirrors have like these awesome LED lights that I absolutely love, and I probably look in the mirror way too much. But hey, I like the mirror. I bought it, so why not use it? So we love you here at Covert Beauties podcast. It's time to uncovert Reason 17. We are so excited, so honored that you're here, and we cannot wait to see where you go. You're going to have to give us an update on what happens coming forward.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Love you, listeners. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening. All residual pain related to the content of this message will self-destruct in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.